And they've been here helping us. The United States Pentagon for the last 58 years. His name is Valiant Thor.
Harley Byrd, nephew of Admiral Richard E. Byrd, was an employee of the branch of the United States Air Force called Project Blue Book. Started in 1952, it studied UFOs and extraterrestrial life. Mr. Byrd confirms the arrival of the extraterrestrial in the book's foreword. In mid-March 1957, we received an urgent message from the Alexandria Police Department. The message indicated that two of their on-duty police officers had picked up an alien who had landed some 14 miles south of Pentagon Boulevard, and the occupant was transported to the Pentagon to meet with the Undersecretary of Defense, and then was shuttled underground to meet with President Eisenhower and Vice President Richard Nixon. The meeting lasted for nearly an hour, and then the alien visitor was put on VIP status and was shuttled back to the Pentagon, where he spent the night in the Army reception office. The alien's name was Valiant Thor.
In the 50s, an individual came to this planet from the planet Venus, he says, named Valiant Thor. And he met with our Joint Chiefs of Staff and the President to try to give them incredible technology, and they rejected him. And I think they rejected him. I don't think it was Eisenhower to say no. I think it was all the others. I think they basically ganged up on him and said, sorry, sir, we are not going to do this because it will destroy the way our planet functions right now.
Well, President Eisenhower indicated that one of the reasons that he would reject him was because it would destroy the industry, the medical industry.
Everything,
it
everything.
Would destroy the economy of the world.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So they decided to pass on his information.
What was the purpose of Thor to come down here other than to check on us? He brought not only the wealth of the universe, but he brought peace. New medical procedures that man is just now starting to learn. Energy sources that man still hasn't got. He never will get. Lay down your weapons of mass destruction. Start working as one people.
For my special studio guest today, Dr. Frank Stranges, he has a rather unique story to tell, because during the 1950s he claims to have met a man from Venus. Yes, you heard me correctly, a man from Venus named Val Thor. This really is a real-life day the Earth stood still, isn't it?
Yes, plus. And here, coming toward me with his right hand outstretched, the man whose picture I've been carrying around with me for over a year.
Wow.
He said, "Hello, Frank, how are you?" And I thought, how in the Sam Hill does he know my name? And he knew from that time forward, the moment I touched his fingers, his skin was as soft as a baby.
Right.
And I did turn his hand over. He had no fingerprints on either hand, as bald as a peeled boiled egg. And I questioned him on that later, which he told me. And he asked me questions, just a few questions, but I asked him more questions. And he told me more about my own life than my parents and grandparents put together, which I verified later on. Mm-hmm. I said, "What is your name?" He said, "Valiant Thor."
See that? See the dates? See all that there? I'm going to read it to you. Colonel A.J. Goodpaster, he's the Secretary of Staff at the White House. He goes in the Oval Office and briefs the President. Remember now, Eisenhower is in office. I enclosed a copy and memorandum which I have just sent to Herbert Hoover, Admiral Radford, and Gordon Gray, which I thought might interest you. Sincerely yours, Alan Dulles. They're planning for Thor's arrival. And this here came out of the Eisenhower Library. I want you to see that. Let's see. Let me move it over here. There you go. See that? Eisenhower Library. Eisenhower knew he better get his act together because somebody's coming to visit. You remember that? November 20th, 1956? 2 days later, we get another memo from Alan Dulles to Colonel Goodpaster, again, the Chief of Secretary of Staff at the White House. November 22nd, 1956. See all that? See the Central Intelligence? Yeah, they are all talking about this. And this is what it says. I enclosed a copy of a memorandum which I have just sent to Herbert Hoover, Admiral Rabb, and Gordon Gray, which I thought will interest you. Notice enclosure. Well, the enclosure is right here. As you can see, it was added. And this is what it says. We need a date and a location for the arrival. We have less than 3 months. Contact the Vatican as soon as possible. There's the Vatican.
Valiant Thor was labeled the space emissary by the Department of Defense, and that the landing of Valiant Thor is perhaps the first documented landing of a human-type alien by military officials. Valiant Thor lived at the Pentagon from March 16, 1957 through March 16, 1960. He came with a divine design for mankind and asked President Eisenhower to implement it throughout the United States, then the world. In December 1959, knowing his presence on Earth was shrouded in government secrecy, Valiant Thor contacted Nancy Warren, a high-level clearance secretary at the Pentagon, who in turn contacted Dr. Frank Stranges, who then met with Valiant Thor. Their friendship lasted until Dr. Frank's death in November of 2008.
He told me his name was Valiant Thor. He grabbed my hand. His hand was skin soft as a lady's or a baby's skin, but it was a grip of a man. And we spent 30 minutes, mostly me asking questions and he giving answers. And he claimed that he was from the inside of the planet that our Bible calls the morning and the evening star, the planet Venus. He said
There's something special about Val that, you know, you've already mentioned about having no fingerprints.
Yes.
He has no navel.
No, he has no navel and he has no fingerprints. This is why I believe he falls in the category of a created being, just like an angelic being. Mm-hmm. And he's unique in his way, believe you me.
Thor arrived in Alexander, Virginia, March 13th, 1957 at 12 o'clock, high noon. They were waiting for him. They picked him, Elder Don up, and Anemia. Remember them three names. You have Thor, it's easy to remember. Elder Don, some call him Commander Don. We know him as Elder Don. And Anemia, that is Thor. Jabba Anu Afra Thor. This man right here, that is Elder Don. And of course, that's Anemia. Met with many world leaders in 1958 in Bimini. Lay down your weapons of mass destruction. Start working as one people. He had the prime ministers from Russia, England, Germany, Japan, South America, Canada. I mean, they met individually down there or in small groups. These world leaders didn't know the full extent who they were meeting or who they were seeing. Brought everything that man could ever dream of here to bring this world, known in the ancient days as the Garden of Eden, the sacred garden of the sacred children. Unfortunately, greedy people within the United States government and certain Western ally powers, and especially the Vatican, didn't have much say-so on the matter. And it was actually turned down.
Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the well.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice.
What if that oil consumption, which everybody should know pollutes the atmosphere, it pollutes water, could have been vanquished in 1957, 58, 59, somewhere in there, with technology beyond anything man could have ever understood? What if some type of power, like utilities, water stations and stuff like that, could have been enhanced beyond anybody's comprehension or understanding? What if that could have truly happened? And it should have happened.
Val, just getting back to Val, where is he today?
Valiant Thor today is on board Victor 1, his spacecraft, not too far from the waterline of Lake Mead, Nevada, not too far from Las Vegas. He's there with his entire complement.